All right. Welcome to the second episode of Living Room Sports. I'm your host, Michael Bazenta, joined today with Robbie McClellan. Robbie, how we doing?
Doing good. Very excited for this episode. It's gonna be a fun one.
We already here. What are we? Week 11 in the
Yeah.
NFL,
Hmm.
almost done with.
Yeah.
We have one game. This is November 17th, so we got the Cowboys and the Raiders tonight, but lots of news coming off another crazy NFL Sunday yesterday. So many upsets, so many games with lead changes. But we'll just jump right into this. Before this, I want to start with saying my prayers go out to Chris Boyd, quarterback of the New York Jets, after being shot. He's in critical condition. So prayers go out to him. Prayers go out to Marshawn Kneeland and his whole entire family. And also prayers goes out to former Browns quarterback Bernie Kosar. Um, just underwent surgery this morning for what was it, a liver transplant?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I think he's doing good. All reports are positive back from Bernie, but prayers up to the Nealon family and Chris Boyd and his family and the New York Jets for, everything that they're going through. But our first topic today, um, we'll go ahead and start with some of the breaking news from today. We'll go break down some of the games we saw yesterday. First of all, the Atlanta Falcons. This has been a tumultuous season for them. So many ups, so many downs. Um, and Michael Penix's sophomore season is going to be over with a knee injury. Um, Ravi, what are your thoughts now on the rest of the season for the Falcons? And honestly, at this point, I think you got to start thinking like the career of Michael Penix. There's been so many injuries.
Yeah. This sucks for the Falcons, for Penix, for the Falcons fans. I mean, for everyone involved. This is gonna be his third serious knee injury going back to his days at Indiana. But yeah, I am at this point, the Falcons are 3-7, I believe, and they got some great pieces on offense, man. But you did sign Kirk Cousins. They got a little guy named Kirk Cousins backing up Michael Penix. So at this point, you let Kirk play, see what he can do, see if you can get his trade value up. But yeah, it sucks for Penix, man. I don't know what the future for him involves. I mean, obviously he's gonna try to come back, bounce back next year, but we're gonna have to see what he's got next.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head right there with this is prime time for Kirk O'Chains. Kirk Cousins is going to have an opportunity here down the stretch in the final 7 games of the season for the Falcons to prove that he is still an NFL starting caliber quarterback. And if not, he might have to sit behind Penix again next year. I think there's plenty of teams that could use a guy like Kirk Cousins. There's going to be multiple teams that draft quarterbacks. I think Kirk Cousins, especially, you know, whoever gets him isn't going to be paying a lot of money for that contract. Nobody's going to take on a lot of money. So I can see even a team like our Cleveland Browns, the New York Jets, the Raiders, if they get rid of Geno, some of those teams that are their quarterback needy could potentially use a veteran guy to bridge a young quarterback that they draft. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, but definitely rough for Michael Penix. And just a rough start to his career. I have relatively been unimpressed with what I've seen from Michael Penix. Um, I know that the Falcons have had a crazy season. It hasn't been the best under Raheem Morris, but you put a young quarterback with weapons that he has. Drake London is having a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
And speaking of London, he is going to be out next year or next week. My bad. Next week with an injury. Hopefully that's all it is. But you have a guy like Bijan, you have Kyle Pitts who's still talented, and you have a solid receiving core in London and Mooney. But I'm relatively unimpressed from what we've seen from Michael Penix.
Yeah. I've been somewhat optimistic with him. He did have a great uh little stretch. He had a good game versus like remember the Buffalo game. I can't remember his stats off the top of my head, but I mean the Falcons that game were juiced. They were ready to play that game. And I mean, from everything I've seen, he's been a great leader on and off the field. So we're just gonna have to see what the Falcons do. I think they kind of have to ride him out another year just because he's played so few games for them. It hasn't been even a full season yet, but you know what? You gotta see what they're doing next.
And that's the frustrating part. You know, he hasn't really been able to get those games in to evaluate him. So I think they're gonna have no choice but to stick with him. Speaking of another young quarterback, in the team that beat the Falcons this week, Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers broke Cam Newton's single game passing yards um, franchise record.
Yeah.
So really good game from that whole entire team, And Ted McMillan had a really good game too. Um, for Dave Canales and the Panthers, they're looking pretty good, and this rebuild's getting a little quicker than I expected, especially after trading Brian Burns in the offseason. This team is looking pretty good, and with a little bit of a slide from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that they're pretty close to that top five
Yeah.
in the division. We're gonna be playing
They
some beautiful football here in December.
they are, I would say they're the sneakiest good team in the NFL. They're only 6-5. They're not going to contend for a Super Bowl this year, I would say, but they're sneaky, fun team. I mean, Rico Dowdle, another 100-yard game yesterday. Didn't have a touchdown, but he had a great game. Day 5.1 yards per carry. That would be, but yeah. I mean, Bryce Young, he's the story here. I mean, people were ever since he got benched last year when he came back, it's been a whole new guy. He's played fantastic, especially yesterday, but I'm very excited to see what the Panthers' future is.
Yeah, and I'm seeing some rumors saying that like Kyler Murray could go to Carolina this offseason. Like that's not happening.
Yeah.
Bryce Young's the guy. Shout out Rod Wave. He got Bryce Young. He got Bryce Young right. Ever since Bryce Young called Rod Wave, he's been a different quarterback.
Yeah.
Definitely had some struggles there, but this Panthers team is headed in the right direction at the right time. That's definitely a team that you root for,
Yeah.
especially with all the stuff that they've gone through, especially with David Tepper, their owner, just has been a relatively rough tenure as an owner for him,
Mhm.
but it's really encouraging to see the way the Panthers have been playing recently.
Yeah,
Um,
they've got a great, fun young team. Tet playing great. Xavier Leggett, he's he's there.
Getting there. He's
He's
getting there.
there. But no, it's very fun to see what they have got, what they're cooking up. And Dave Canales, I mean, he's a fun hire. I mean, I feel like him and Bryce they've got a good little bond going, so we'll see what's up for him.
Yeah, it goes to show what happens when a head coach puts his trust in a young quarterback. I think that you see some of that divide in other places, especially in some teams that we're pretty familiar with. But going on, we got to talk about Jamar Chase. Spit on Jalen Ramsey in a fight, denied it, and now he's going to get suspended. He said he's going to appeal, but it's going to get upheld.
Yeah.
Um, Jalen Ramsey locked him up pretty good yesterday, and Steelers ended up coming out on what looked like more of a lopsided game than it really was. The Steelers poured it on a little bit late after, Joe Flacco was forced to throw the ball, turned it over a couple times. But, once again, Jamar's immaturity is going to cost his team a game, and a game that really the Bengals can't afford to lose if they want to play if they want to be in the playoffs at all this year.
Yeah, he's got to straighten up. He can't be doing that if they're in playoff contention with divisional game. I know tensions are hot. It's Bengals Steelers, every AFC North matchup is a gritty game, but it's just not unacceptable. I mean, can't really be doing that.
Yeah, and I saw he's going to lose about $450,000 from his game check, which
Yeah.
crazy money. That's insane.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully one day, Michael.
Maybe one day we'll be there,
Maybe one day we will be there.
but that's it. Jamar Chase is going to get suspended for one game. I'm assuming it's going to be next week.
Yeah.
Um, Very glad you didn't trade me him in fantasy. Thank you very much for that.
I traded for Bijan. I traded him for Bijan and I threw in a couple other players, but I mean that trade in my other league, I mean, it's worked out for me so far, which is nice. But
Bijan's been in a little slump.
he came out of it yesterday at 30 fantasy points. It was nice, but yeah, it's gonna suck for people like me who have him in my other league, but
Yep.
we
It's
will we will survive.
it's going to get down to crunch time for them. All right, moving on. We have another young quarterback who is extremely getting scrutinized. He likes to call himself nine. Um, what a horrible game. What a horrible
Uh,
tenure. Ever since he said that, he's looked horrible. Um, I have no problems ragging on this guy. I strongly dislike this kid, and I really have no reason to, except for the fact of the school he went to. But the Vikings and JJ McCarthy have been struggling, Robbie.
Yeah, it's was not pretty yesterday. I know the score was close at the end of the game, but you could tell he just looked uncomfortable. He missed about 10 throws that were just sailed or low. And I mean, we've seen quarterbacks go into this Vikings offense and pick it up like that. I mean, he's had 2 years in the system. Yeah, he hasn't played much, but it kind of, I wouldn't say it's time to worry about him because, yeah, he still is only 22, 23 years old. Like,
Hmm.
he's got time, but it is something to keep an eye on, I would definitely say.
Yeah, and it really hurts for those Vikings fans to see how well Sam Darnold's been playing. I know this is a
Yeah.
poorly timed
Daniel
It's a
Jones,
poorly
too.
timed way to say this because, Sam did throw 4 picks yesterday, but overall, Sam Darnold has been a major reason why the Seahawks are where they are.
Hmm.
Um, I had one of my buddies look at me yesterday and goes, I bet the Vikings are regretting not paying Sam Darnold. And I'm like, that's a crazy take because you drafted, the mistake wasn't not paying Sam Darnold, the mistake was paying or drafting JJ McCarthy in the first round overall because everyone knows that those Michigan teams, especially the national championship team, was a ground and pound in the trenches. Our
Hmm.
defense is going to beat you
Yeah.
team. They were not this offensive juggernaut. They were just a hard-nosed football team that was going to beat you on defense and on the ground. And JJ McCarthy was that quarterback of that team, and he made his plays. I'm not discrediting him his Michigan career. He made his plays, but he was never, that top guy, that top dog when it comes to the passing game. So it just goes to show you, sometimes that stuff, it's going to poke its ugly head. You thought maybe the Vikings offense would be able to mask some of those weaknesses, but you see Justin Jefferson starting to get a little frustrated with what's going on, and they got to get that cleaned up quickly because you don't want a receiver like that to get a little unhappy.
Yeah. I'm not going to credit out Kevin O'Connell yet just because of his track record with quarterbacks. And this is the first time we've seen him with a young quarterback try to develop him. I'm not saying it's completely going to work out. I'm not saying it's not going to work out, but I'm going to give it a little bit more time, probably the rest of the season, see what happens this off season. But yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, I would say for sure.
Absolutely. We'll see how the Vikings are able to do the rest of the season. Moving on, we got probably one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL. Um, they lost to the Miami Dolphins yesterday on prime time.
Yep.
Washington Commanders. And, a lot of people would say they're very injured. Their starting quarterback hasn't played, but even when Jaden Daniels has played, he has not looked good. Their run game is horrible. Um,
Their
Bill
defense,
Krosky Merritt
not great.
was the steal of the draft, and
Yeah.
he's not even RB1 anymore. He's getting beat out by Chris Rodriguez. They dumped Brian Robinson for practically nothing for no reason.
That one made zero sense to me when that happened. But
Um, you know, they paid Terry McLaurin. He hasn't played at all this year. Debo Samuel has been relative non-factor in this offense. Losing Austin Eckler early in the season hurt, and then Matt Gay missing 2 kicks yesterday. There hasn't been a lot going right with this team.
I would say I would 100% agree with you, Michael. I would say there's a lot of factors that play into this. Obviously, injuries, you can't ignore them. They're not playing Jan Daniels. I know he hasn't played great this year, but he had a great rookie year, obviously, last year. So you got to trust him. But also, the team itself, the guys playing, the defense especially, has not been playing great. I know they didn't play horrible yesterday, but it's the Dolphins. So can't really expect too much from them there. But I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do in the offseason this year because I don't do they blow I don't say they blow it up, but they got to retool. I would definitely say they got to retool. They got to get some better running backs in there because they cannot run the ball to save their lives. And get some new defensive play pieces. I'd personally keep Dan Quinn there because it's only year 2. So you gotta let it ride. But yeah, I'm excited to see what they do.
I don't necessarily think Dan Quinn's on the hot seat. I think the only way I could see Dan Quinn on the hot seat is if, for whatever reason, Jaden Daniels plays again this season. It's
Hmm.
over. It's over. The only reason I could see you playing him is if he is 1,000,000% healthy and you just want him to get a game or two at the end of the year to get his feet wet,
Yeah.
try to get back into that rhythm. But at the end of the day, is that even really worth it for a guy who's been dealing with all kinds of injuries this year? That left, we really haven't heard a lot on that left arm injury that looked really bad. We just heard that it wasn't that bad. And that's kind of all we heard. We heard good news, but we haven't heard much since then. So, we'll see how they play that out. But they're going to have some cap space, and they definitely got to. They're going to have the opportunity to definitely make some improvements there in Washington. Moving on, the New York Jets. They beat our Cleveland Browns, even though the Browns outgained them and beat them in almost every statistical category besides special teams. But Justin Fields in the last 5 weeks has thrown one game over 100 yards passing, and that was against the Bengals high school defense. So he was benched today for Tyrod Taylor, and that's just looking like one of the worst free agency signings. And I hate to say this, as a big Buckeye guy, but I think that might be the last we've seen as Justin Fields as an NFL starter.
It sucks. It really does suck. I've personally experienced the athleticism of Justin Fields. I played basketball. I played pickup basketball with him once. And he was a freaking nature.
Crazy callback.
Yeah, it's a crazy callback. But no, I mean, he is probably the most athletic guy I've ever seen in my entire life. And it sucks because it's nothing physical that he can do literally everything physical. It's just up here. He can't process defenses at the speed of what you need to be an NFL quarterback. And it sucks. But at this point, I mean, I feel like so many teams have three teams have tried to figure out what to do with him. And it's just he hasn't clicked. It's year 5, I think, for him now. I mean, I think it may be time. I mean, maybe in the future he's going to be in the league, obviously, but for teams signing him to be their starting quarterback for the year, it's definitely over for the time being, I would say.
Yeah, and Justin Fields seems like the perfect backup for the Baltimore Ravens
Yeah,
or the Washington
probably
Commanders.
where he'll go. Yeah, he'll go to one of those two.
He's definitely a perfect backup for a guy like Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson. He can do almost everything they can do, but it's unfortunate for the Jets. They're going to definitely be in prime position to take one of those top quarterbacks, but they did hurt themselves a little bit by beating the Browns last week. But we'll see what it does. You know, the thing that I question here is I understand Justin Fields has been playing so bad, but like what does playing Tyrod Taylor really do to you, especially when you're losing like this?
Mm-hmm.
But it just goes to show you that's how bad Justin Fields has been.
Yeah, he
And
is.
you normally let the young quarterback ride it out. And it's not like Justin Fields is young, but he or is old, but he's also only 24 or 25 years old. Maybe he's 26, but he's
I think
still
he's
like,
6, but
yeah. So they're gonna bench him for a 36-year-old quarterback. It just
yeah,
goes to show you where the Jets are right now.
yeah, they are. I mean, obviously they're mailing it in this year. They've got 5 first-round picks next 2 years. They're gonna completely rebuild everyone. I mean, they're not gonna clean house, obviously. I mean, Aaron Glenn's first year, and this is similar to what happened with Detroit and Dan Campbell. But yeah, we're gonna have to see what they do. I'm honestly very excited, and I wouldn't say I'm pumped to see what they're gonna do, but I mean it's very interesting. They're a team to keep an eye on just because of all the draft capital they have, and they've got good young players on the team already. I know they've traded Sauce and Quentin Williams, but I'm very intrigued to say as an NFL fan to see what they do.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll have to see what the Jets do. Moving on, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're going to be, it looks like, without A-Rod. And they're going to go with Mason Rudolph. We could potentially see a little bit of Will Howard for
Hopefully.
the Steelers. It didn't Mason Rudolph, he's kind of whatever to me. He made his throws when he needed them to. Um, but I think. Um, you might be a little scared if you're Pittsburgh because it's not like they have the offense of past years. Like, you know, when we were growing up, they had Le'Veon Bell, they had Antonio Brown. So, like, a backup quarterback could just get the ball to those guys. But this year, Jalen Warren has been a serviceable running back, but that's about it. And he was banged up yesterday. DK Metcalf has been shut down a lot this year. They've been using a lot of their tight ends. They don't have another receiver.
Mhm.
Um, on that team, Calvin Austin, whatever, Roman Wilson, whatever. But going into the home stretch with a red hot Baltimore team on their tails, I don't think this. I think this smells trouble for the Steelers.
Yeah, we know exactly what Mason Rudolph is. We've seen it. We know what the Pittsburgh Steelers are. I mean, they've been the same team ever since that 11-game win streak ended in 2020. I mean, they can't really do, they can win, they can get winning seasons, they can't win the playoffs, and they're probably going to end up coming in first, second place in the AFC North. They may get a playoff spot because the AFC is just not as strong this year. Or it is, sorry, I'm thinking the NFC. But even still, they may still probably get a playoff spot, but they're not going to do anything with it. Uh, I mean, at this point, I know a lot of Steelers fans want to even try out Will Howard just because he's a young guy, see what he's got. Who knows if they actually will? But I mean, this is kind of we already know what to expect with this move.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with these Steelers fans. You got to see what you got in the young guy, and that's exactly how I feel as a Browns fan. You didn't draft the guy for no reason. I understand they're late round picks, and we don't expect these young guys to come in and be superstars. But you don't just draft a guy to not give him a chance.
Mm.
And if I know anything about the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to try to bring in somebody else over Will Howard next year. They're not going to go with a rookie quarterback. So this seems to be the perfect opportunity to get Will Howard his shot to see what you have in him. But I guess we'll end up seeing, as for the time being, it looks like it's going to be Mason Rudolph, but only
I
time
think
will
you
tell.
got to see what you have in Rudolph first, obviously, with his team, and if it turns out game in, I don't know how much time Wilson's gonna or Rogers is gonna miss, but depends on how Rudolph plays. Give him a game or two, and then if he's out for a month, Rogers is or whatever. Then throw in Howard, see what you got.
But also, I have seen some Steelers fans say A-Rod has not been playing well,
Yeah.
and they still managed to get by that Colts game, and that Colts game was won by their defense,
Mhm.
and by the poor play of Daniel Jones. But in the end, A-Rod made enough plays to make it happen. So I guess we'll end up seeing a big matchup on December 28th, Browns Steelers in Cleveland. I will be in attendance to that game.
All right.
Really looking forward to that. But our next up, we have Denver Broncos quarterback Bo Nix. I don't know what to think of Bo Nix. I feel like I'm a hater of Bo Nix. I feel like I just want to see more. Maybe not a hater, I'd say. I'm just more of I'm on the fence about him. I want to see more. But for some reason, the Broncos and Bo Nix just continue to figure it out.
I have personally been a Bo Nix believer the last couple of years, even when he was going back to when he was at Oregon. With that said, I am confused on how they're winning games. I mean, I know they got a great defense, but they are 9-2. Is that correct? 9-2.
And you-
I mean, you're not 9-2 by accident. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, this is one of the best teams in the NFL. That defense is elite. This is probably one of the most elite defenses in the NFL. Uh, Bo Nix has spurts where he looks like he's on fire, but also there's games and spurts where it's confusing how he's a starting NFL quarterback
Mhm.
because I've watched some of Bo Nix and he loves to run in the pocket. He doesn't like to set his feet and throw. He likes to run up, get a running start, and then throw. And sometimes it works out for them. They get big chunk plays downfield with Cortland Sutton and I'm blanking on the other
Roy
receiver.
Franklin.
Yes, Troy Franklin. Sorry. Uh, but other times he's running in the pocket and he's throwing 3 picks a game. But I mean, we're gonna have to see. Still young. He's 20. He's 25-year-old sophomore in the NFL, but he's still very young. He's the second year. I mean, they're 9-2. Keep doing what they're doing and see where it takes them.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of a Sean Payton led team, and um yeah, and they made more plays yesterday when it mattered to beat the Chiefs. And yeah, I guess we'll end up seeing. And just to go through some of the game scores yesterday, and throughout the NFL, obviously the Patriots beat the Jets 27 to 14 on Thursday night. Great game again from the Patriots as they continue on pace to be the number one seed in the AFC. That's definitely a shocking surprise. Um, another blunder by the Cleveland Browns, letting Mike Vrabel walk out the door. But that's a topic for a different time. The Ravens defeated the Browns 23 to 16. We'll talk about that in full detail in the next episode. Um, Talked about the Dolphins Commanders game. Mike McDaniel and Tua just continue to find ways to win games. I've liked what I've seen from this Dolphins team. They've been able to rebound from what we thought was rock bottom, um, and they look like a serviceable team now. And I think they're both of them are saving their jobs.
I'm honestly shocked. I can't be more shocked than that the Dolphins are actually winning games now. If you would have told me after that Cleveland Browns game where the Browns dismembered them, they killed them. This terrible Cleveland Browns team killed the Miami Dolphins, and then they go on to win. How many? I think it's been a three game win streak.
Or something like that. I mean,
Three or
I
four.
know they lost to the Ravens, then they beat the
That's
Bills, and then they just beat the Commanders.
there's only I guess it's only two, but I mean still, I mean they're winning games. They look rejuvenized. We're gonna see what happens with them. I mean, there's a chance. I'm not saying there's a chance to make the playoffs, but there's definitely a chance for Mike McDaniel to keep his job. See what they got next year. I mean, I know this is kind of purgatory for Dolphins fans. I know they want to fire everyone, trade Tua, just restart fresh. But I mean, if you're winning games in the NFL, to see what happens at the end of the year, I mean, can't really fire them if they got a nice second half boost.
Exactly. And I think, like I said, I think they're saving their jobs. Moving down, we have the Steelers beating the Bengals 34 to 12. Like I said, that game was much closer than it looks out to be. The Bengals, that Jamar Chase thing is probably going to, end of the day, that's killer to their season. Looks like Joe Burrow could be back soon, but is it even worth it at this point? I think you're going to see some real questions about Zach Taylor at the end of this year. The Bengals have been an extremely disappointing team over the last 3 to 4 years.
They have been very disappointing the last couple of years. I mean, we're gonna have to see what they do. They need a whole new defense. I mean, it's not even. I mean, what do you do with Trey Hendrickson? Do you trade him? You got to. He's the only decent player on the Bengals defense, but I mean, he wants out. They're not going to pay him. You saw what happened last offseason. But I mean, try to trade him, get as much as you can. But I saw something, Mike. I want to get your opinion on this. Is Joe Burrow out in Cincinnati?
No way.
You don't think so?
No way. If
I
anybody,
I I tend to agree with you. I don't think they could do it, but people have made some interesting points saying, do they want to continue to ride with Joe Burrow if he's not going to be able to play games for them? But I think there's no chance in hell they trade him. But who knows? Maybe a team
I,
like New York gets greedy and sends them 5 first round picks. But who knows? We're gonna have
I
to.
don't think, I don't think, I think the fans might burn the city down if they traded Joe Burrow. I think realistically, if you're the Bengals, you really need to think about getting rid of one of them receivers. Um, it's just unsustainable to pay two wide receivers wide receiver one money, and that is not a knock on either one of them. Jamar Chase is one of the best receivers in the NFL, and T. Higgins is a top 20 receiver in the NFL. Um, it just, I know everyone wanted to pay them, but you see what it does to the rest of the team. You can't field a capable defense, and they even traded some pieces in the defense, and this is what you get. You know, sometimes I feel like we could score against that defense, but we'll see how they go about this offseason. Another surprise score yesterday. Jaguars killed the Chargers 35 to 6. That's unfortunate for us as Browns fans because we needed Jaguars to lose. But I think once again, year after year, um, fraud of the year goes to the Los Angeles Chargers because every single year it's either are we going to get the Super Bowl caliber potential Los Angeles Chargers, or are we going to get the New York Jets version of the Los Angeles Chargers? And Herbert is such a polarizing player. I can't figure him out.
I he is the ultimate what if guy. I mean, it is crazy that he is one of the most talented players in the NFL, yet every team he's on is just a fraud. Like they're just frauds. And he's got weapons. Yes, he's got Lad McConkey. He's got a but he does have an old ass Keenan Allen playing with him. I don't even know what's up with Mike Williams. I haven't even
Mike Williams retired before the season.
did he no, they traded for him, did he not?
He retired before the season started in
See, like
trade.
that's how irrelevant the charges are to me. I didn't even realize that. But you got that, and then you got Quentin Johnston. He's there, but I mean, you gotta they gotta try to get more guys.
Yeah, and they're injured. They both of their Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt out for the year on the tackles, and that definitely hurts a guy who likes to move around in the pocket like Herbert does. Makes plays, scrambling, throwing to his right, throwing to his left. That definitely hurts. And then their star running back, Amarian Hampton, you know, has missed time with I believe it was an ankle injury. He should be coming back soon, but I guess we'll have to see how the Chargers can rebound from that.
Yeah.
The Bills defeated the Bucks 44-32. The Bucks injuries are really starting to catch up to them. Baker played extremely well, but that's not necessarily a game I think as a Bucks fan you really expect to win.
Yeah, I didn't get to catch much of that game, but I did see Josh Allen had a classic Josh Allen game, three passing, three rushing touchdowns. Yeah, that's just a game. If Josh Allen's hot like that, that's just a game they're destined the Bills are destined to win. And I mean, it's kind of as simple as that. Yes, the Bill or the Bucks played good. I think they scored 32. Uh, but Josh Allen's just that he's that guy. And honestly, if the Bills are playing like that, there's no one is stopping them.
Absolutely. And that's just kind of how it is. But the Bucks have hit a rough patch. They looked like one of the NFC's top teams, and now they're sitting at just a measly 6-4. So I guess we'll see how Baker and the Bucks can rebound from that. Hopefully they can get back on track. The Bears defeated the Vikings 19-17. Nothing really to talk about there, except just um,
They're
I don't.
7-3 team to watch. Maybe not a contender for the Super Bowl, but they're a team to watch in the playoffs. That's all I'm going to say.
I think so. I would still like to see more from Caleb Williams.
Mhm.
Um, but
Missed
they've
a couple
gotten.
throws yesterday too. And I saw that. I saw a little
Yeah.
bit of that, but
We like.
I still like Caleb Williams at this point. He's playing
Yeah,
good.
no, I want to see more, but that's just that. The Texans barely edged out the Tennessee Titans. The Texans have been sneaky hot. Um, I wouldn't count them out just yet because they've been playing well without CJ Stroud. And it's not like Davis Mills has been playing, that good or that bad. He's just been relatively net neutral. So you get a better quarterback play in there, potentially maybe continue to incorporate some Woody Marks in there. Um, I haven't heard anything on Tank Dell. I'm not sure what his status is, but I feel like
Yeah.
that's a team that's on the come up.
Yeah, they've just got to get healthy. Honestly, that's pretty much their problem. I mean, Stroud coming back would be huge for them. But also Davis Mills is not losing them games. They're on a 2 game win streak versus division opponents. So we're gonna see what's up with them. Hopefully,
Yeah, and for the Titans, it's going to be a big game in a couple weeks. Titans play the Browns.
that
Uh,
Tank Bowl, baby. I'm excited for that one.
the Tank Bowl. I don't really know if I'm going to root for or against the Browns, but I guess we'll see in that game. We talked about Panthers Falcons. What a game. Packers Giants. Oh man, Jameis Winston and the Packers. The Packers are just they're getting by a thread. Jordan Love banged up in this game. Josh Jacobs banged up in this game, but it was a Christian Watson starting to break out of his shell a little bit, starting to go back to his former self. That Christian Watson we saw with A-Rod in A-Rod's last season in Green Bay. But the Packers keep getting it done, but I'm getting a little worried. Losing. They lost to who they lose? They lost to the Browns. They lost to the Panthers. Um,
They've had some very They are the hot. Jordan Love is the perfect quarterback for them because Jordan Love is either the greatest quarterback in the NFL or he's terrible. And that's kind of how the Packers are. They're either the best team scoring 40 points a game or scoring 9 points or whatever it was versus the Panthers or 10 points versus the Browns. It's just once they if they're on, they're on. And then they just need to be able to stay healthy. I think they'll probably be fine for the rest of the year, but I'm not sure what's going to happen with them in the playoffs. They're honestly a toss up at this point, but we'll see.
That's definitely a scare if you're a team like that in the playoffs. Would definitely be a little bit concerned. Would need to see more consistency out of that whole entire team from top to bottom. Rams defeated the Seahawks 21-19. That's a really good divisional game. Sam Darnold threw 4 picks. JSN had 9 catches for I think 110 yards, and
Yeah.
you felt like you kept him in check, which is kind of a crazy thing to say about a receiver. But
Didn't score, but still.
yeah, that's just
They missed.
crazy game against some of the best teams in the NFC. I don't think anyone expected anything different. That's a game where you just say, who's the home team? All right, Rams. Okay, I think they're going to win.
Yep.
Uh, 49ers, Cardinals. 49ers won this game relatively handedly in Brock Purdy's return, but Jacoby Brissett set an NFL record for passes completed in a game, 47, I think it was.
That's crazy. That's
That's crazy. And
that's
the
actually
game
crazy.
you would think they would won, but they lost by almost 20. Dumpster fire over there in Arizona. Um,
That's
I
something I want to talk about real quick, if you don't
I
mind.
think yeah, go ahead. I think before you say anything, I might take the words out of your mouth, but this is I think going to be a classic case of a one and done for Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna go there, but I mean, yeah, I mean, at this point, he's been there since I think this is what year three for him since ever since he got hired from the Eagles, but for the Super Bowl. But yeah, they are. The thing I was going to talk about was Kyler. I'm really interested to see what happens with Kyler, and I feel like his injury was kind of a soft benching,
A
but
little bit, a little bit.
I'm interested to see what the Kyler market this offseason is going to be because I don't know who's going to be interested in him. There are going to be teams there probably, but I don't know
100%.
which teams. I would say if I had to take a guess, I feel like the Raiders are the team they're looking at him thinking that's our guy possibly, but I don't know. I feel like there's so many different ones to potentially see. Like I don't think they would ever do this, but Minnesota, like if JJ turns out he's not the guy there, does Kevin O'Connell look at Kyler and say, "Give me him, I want him"?
You know
That's
a
the thing,
sleeper
I don't
team?
know.
You know a sleeper team I could see going for Kyler Murray?
Let's see. Let's hear it.
The Pittsburgh Steelers.
That does not surprise me even a little bit. I could totally say
You got to
that's
think, because
totally
I think with Kyler Murray, I think, okay, you want a team that is going to compete, but you got to have a team that's not going to be high enough to get a high draft pick. And that screams Pittsburgh Steelers to me because you think of teams that need quarterbacks, and you're all thinking of the Browns, the Jets, the Raiders, and they're all going to have high picks, and I think they're probably all going to end up taking a quarterback. So you got to think of a team that's going to try to take a flyer on a guy who has had success in the NFL, just maybe needs a change of scenery. Um, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers could be a team that does really take a flyer on a guy like that.
yeah, no, 100%.
But we'll have to see where Kyler goes if he ever plays again in Arizona. We got 2 more games we could talk about here: the Broncos and the Chiefs. We already touched on the Broncos, so I think we need to touch on the Chiefs real quick. And I've seen a lot about the Chiefs, but at the end of the day, they are still what are they 5-5 now or 5-4?
5-5.
5-5. I'm not worried about the Chiefs. If I'm just saying, they're just last year they won all their one possession games. This year they're not winning their one possession games, and it is what it is. Um, I still think the Chiefs would be one of my favorites in the AFC if the playoffs were to start today. They're not in the playoffs as of right now. I don't really have any worries as to whether they're not going to get in, but they definitely have to turn it up um, and finish this regular season out strong.
No, yeah, you could tell. I mean, they're not getting blown out of games, which is encouraging if you're a Chiefs fan. And you gotta trust them. They're the fucking Kansas City, excuse me, they're the Kansas City Chiefs. So I mean, you just gotta let this play out. I mean, obviously Kelsey's getting up there in age, but I mean, Rashid Rice is playing great. Xavier Worthy's playing good. Like they've got I wouldn't be worried if I was them.
Yeah,
They got
and
to
you
get a
know
run
what?
game, but handle that in the offseason.
Yeah, they should have traded for Brees Hall.
They should
It's
have.
not like they offered him to you or anything.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, looking at their schedule, they're not gonna it's not gonna be handed to them. They're it's not it's their schedule is not like the Baltimore Ravens, where they have a bunch of cream puffs. They are going to have to earn it if they want to make the playoffs. Big game this weekend against the Colts. That'll be at home. I'm interested to see. It looks like Kansas City is favored by 3.5 as of right now. Um, we'll see how that game plays out. But they have the Colts, the Cowboys, Texans, Chargers. Those are 4 games. The Cowboys aren't the best team this year. But they're not a slouch either. And the Cowboys, and any given night, could put up 40. They have that kind of offense. So, it's not going to be earned, and they have the Titans and they got the Broncos again and the Raiders. So, I was looking at those two, you have the Titans and the Raiders. Those are 100% games that they have to win, but realistically, they can only lose one or two more games if they want to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm 100%.
And the last game we have to talk about, Eagles, Lions. Jalen Hurts did not play well yesterday. It was the Eagles defense that won them that game last night. Jared Goff did not play very well either. It just looked like the whole Lions offense was out of sync. And I think the Lions are kind of in the same. They're 6-4, so they're in a little better of a position, but they're in the same kind of boat as the Chiefs on, a couple more bad games, and you're looking at a potential missing the playoffs here.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say the same thing about the Lions I said about the Chiefs. I mean, I wouldn't be too worried. Yes, they're in a little rough spot now, but I mean, you gotta trust these guys. They've pulled through the last couple of years, had some of the best seasons in franchise history. You just gotta let this ride out.
Absolutely. And they have the players, they have the guys. They have an explosive offense. It's been a little weird. Definitely missing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. I think that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the
Yeah.
adjustment period of a relatively young head coach. Dan Campbell's still only his fourth or fifth year.
Yep.
So it's not like this. It's not like he's Andy Reid. He's not Mike Tomlin. He's not a guy who's been used to churning over assistant coaches. So this is a big change for him. And looking at the Lions schedule, just like the Chiefs, it might be a little harder than the Chiefs schedule. They're going to have to earn this. They have the Giants this week. Um, Not necessarily sure if Jackson Dart's going to play. He's had a lot of concussions already. So if I'm the Giants, I'm being like extremely careful with Dart. Um,
Especially since they don't even have a full-time head coach right now.
Exactly.
So
And I think you stick with Jameis there. But then after that, you have the Packers, the Cowboys, Rams, Steelers, Vikings, and Bears. And none of those teams, the worst of those teams is the Vikings, um, at 4-6, who have already beat them. And that game is going to be in Minnesota, which is never an easy place to play. So we're going to have to see what the Lions are really made of. But I fully expect the Lions to get this kicked in gear. If Jared Goff makes one or two more plays, I don't know if you caught that game last night. Um, the Lions stopped the Eagles, and a horrible pass interference call
yeah.
was able to give the Eagles the win. It's unfortunate the game ended like that, but at the end of the day, if you're a Lions fan, Jared Goff had numerous opportunities. They were stopped on fourth down, I think 5 times.
Yeah.
Um, so the opportunities were there. They just didn't convert.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions, that's another encouraging sign. They're not getting blown out. They're beating themselves, which is you're able good teams will get over that. Like they'll lose a couple games, have a rough stretch, but eventually they're gonna equal out. They'll be okay. I'm not even a little bit worried about the Lions.
Yep. And then tonight we have the Dallas Cowboys in the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't think this game's going to be, very close. But for some reason, the way the Cowboys have been playing this year, I could see it being close, but I could also see that one of those classic Dallas Cowboy, just ass whoopings here. Gino is probably going to throw 2+ picks.
Yeah,
Um,
probably
they traded
what it is.
They traded their best receiver. They only have about two guys on offense. You have Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. Trey Tucker is there too, I guess. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't even count the Cowboys out. I know they're 3-5-1, but this is a team. They
They're
get healthy.
they're
They
a
could
very
be.
explosive team with pieces coming in. This is this going to be Quinn's first game? Quinn
Yeah,
Williams?
because I
I believe the trade deadline was last Tuesday. He didn't play last week. So
yeah, no, they went to buy last week.
yeah, so this is going to be Quinn's first game. The defensive line is going to be playing better. I'm excited to see this team actually tonight.
Yeah, and we'll see how Dak responds. CeeDee Lamb's finally healthy. George Pickens is having a monster year. Jake Ferguson's been doing well. The run game with Javonte Williams has been working. The defense has been the issue, as it's been with the Cowboys for a while now. And I guess we'll end up seeing how this game goes tonight. But
Yeah,
after that, that's about all I have for today.
yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see the next couple of weeks are going to be very interesting to see how everything's shaping out. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah. All right, Robbie. We'll end our episode here with contender or pretender. We have four teams here. You tell me whether or not you think they are a contender or a pretender.
All
And
right.
actually, I didn't do this intentionally, but both of these two teams played each other yesterday.
Okay.
So obviously, one of these teams lost yesterday. One of these teams beat the other team, but we're going to be interested to see how this goes. I'm going to start you off with the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, contender all the way. Uh, I love the way Stafford has been playing this year. I mean, the offense as a whole has been lights out the entire year. I know they didn't put up great, crazy numbers yesterday, but I mean, division games aren't usually super high scoring. But no, I'm all the way in on the Rams this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with that. You have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, great receivers. Stafford, that weird back injury right before the season. I haven't heard a peep about it since.
That that is a very fun point to think about. That they
What?
Rams fans, NFL fans, they were all up in arms about Stafford's going to suck this year, and then look what he's done. He's going to probably win the MVP this year, but
I mean, he's probably been the best quarterback. I mean, not the best player. That's
even
Jonathan
Drake
Taylor.
May, I would say, I think is the conversation for that. Sorry.
Yeah, but no, Drake May, Matt Stafford, Jonathan Taylor should be the winner, but he won't win it. He'll just win
Yep.
Offensive Player of the Year. But you
Yep.
know, it is what it is. That's how the NFL works. I tend to agree. They got a good defense. They have a Super Bowl winning head coach. They've done it before. Stafford's done it before. They have all the tools to do it. So I guess we'll end up seeing. And that leads me to the other team, the team they beat yesterday, the Seattle Seahawks.
I do not want to say they're a pretender, but I don't think they are as much as a contender as people think. But I just Sam Darnold is he's like another player we were talking about earlier, Jordan Love. Not they don't play. I mean, they kind of play similar, but he's either hot when he's hot, and when he's cold, he is ice cold. And yesterday he was ice cold, but that's the only thing really holding me back. JSN has obviously had a huge breakout year, becoming argue. I'd say firmly in the top five receivers, but
100%.
so yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. I would say for this year though, I would say pretender.
Yeah, I could see them being like, that 2023 Lions team. Like they
Yeah.
break through, they have a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I'm really torn about this because if you would have told me last week, I would have said contender.
Yeah.
But after this week, it made me remember that we're talking about Sam Darnold here, and although he's played extremely well, um, he has shown that there's still some New York Jets and Sam Darnold in him. He's still seeing some ghosts on occasion. Um, but I will really like to see how he responds to this because they have an extremely good defense, a young head coach in Mike McDonald. So
Run game's
I'm
great too.
if I had to pick, I would say pretender only because um, quarterbacks who tend to choke don't necessarily bode well in the playoffs. And all it takes is Sam Darnold to throw two or three picks in a playoff game and your season ends. We saw it last year with Jared Goff in the playoffs. We've seen it with Josh Allen before.
Oh, with
Um,
Sam Darnold last year.
yeah, that too. Sam Darnold didn't play well in the playoffs last year, and there you go. But
I am excited. I'm very excited for this Seahawks team for the future, though.
absolutely,
I could see them being a contender next year, years after, maybe even this year, depending on how things go. I'm going to still say pretender, but I'm not counting them out.
Absolutely. No, I could see him doing it, and I wouldn't even be surprised. Trade Kenneth Walker, by the way, get him out of there if you're so in love with Zach Charbonnet for whatever reason.
They love him.
And he's
They
not even
love
good.
him. And he's
That
on my fantasy team, so I'm not complaining that they love him, but they do love him.
Yeah, whatever. I don't get it, but it is what it is. Moving on, we have the Denver Broncos.
Oh, this is going to be a very similar to the Seahawks. I'm going to say pretender, but they're deep. Like, I mean, they just keep winning. They keep winning, so it's hard to count them out. But I'm going to have to say pretender just because they need offensive production in the playoffs. I mean, that production in the regular season translates to the playoffs, and
Yeah.
they're very hot and cold. They've had a lot of comeback from behind victories, a lot of close games with the Raiders are especially sticking with me. That game gives me nightmares when I think about it. But now I'm gonna have to say pretenders for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I want to see a little bit more. I understand they're getting bailed out and they're winning a lot of one-score games. And if they were winning by a little bit more convincingly, especially not having to come from behind, I would maybe be able to give them more of a benefit of the doubt. But I'm in the AFC. I'm gonna trend to lean towards more of the proven guys, and that's gonna lead me right into my next team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'll just start it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say contender again. You know, you are not dead until you're dead, and I don't think the Chiefs are dead. They're having a rough season. They're going through some stuff. Patrick Mahomes started the year out playing well. He has not been playing like Patrick Mahomes recently. Not that he's been playing bad. He's still a top five quarterback in the NFL, still top two, maybe even still the best quarterback in the NFL. Talking to some people, it depends. Um, but it's still Patrick Mahomes, it's still Andy Reid. They're still the Kansas City Chiefs. They still have Steve Spagnuolo on the defensive end. They had a chance to win the game yesterday. They couldn't come up with it. Um, but in the end, Chiefs are still alive until they're not.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I've this has been the thing for me the whole season is thinking about the Chiefs and what is going on there and if they actually are going to contend or if they're going to miss the playoffs entirely. Yeah, Chiefs are they're a very interesting team to me. I would say I'm going to stay contender, but honestly, I could see going either way.
Yeah. And that concludes this week's episode of Living Room Sports. I'm your host, Michael Bodzenta. That's Robbie McClellan. Thank you guys for joining us.